Welcome back to Mind Pump TV, guys. I'm your host, Danny Matranga, and today we're going to take a look at the frog pump, or the frog variant of a hip thrust. This was an exercise popularized by Bret Contreras, and it is simply an analog of the bodyweight bridge or the bodyweight hip thrust that you can obviously progress with load. In my experience coaching this with some of my clientele, specifically women looking to build their glutes, it's an awesome opportunity to develop a sensation in the glutes, to connect with them a little bit, to feel the gluteus medius and maximus working together. It's not a replacement for hip thrusting by any stretch, or even the hip bridge or glute bridge for that matter. It's just an awesome variation tool that a lot of the clients I've worked with feel a tremendous deal in those muscles. So without further ado, let's dive into how to properly set up for the frog pump, execute the frog pump, progress it, regress it, all those things. Let's do it. All right, so setting up for the frog pump is a lot like setting up for a glute bridge or a hip thrust. Where your feet go is going to be contingent on a few things, which one, of course, is your own unique anatomy of your hip, femurs, lower legs. Where do your feet need to be for you to optimally feel the movement? Now, it's not going to be the same for everybody. There is no gold standard. So set up and play around with it a little bit. You want to lie flat on your back, right? Play with the positioning of your feet until when you do the movement, you feel the glutes optimally. One thing I will say is if the feet get too far out in front of you, clients will often feel the hamstrings quite a lot. And if the feet get too close, a lot of clientele will feel a ton of quad. So those are also kind of your barometers for if your feet have gone too far. So once you've found that sweet spot with the feet together, the hips are going to stay in external rotation and abduction. Now remember, that is one of the functions of the gluteus medius and minimus, as well as the gluteus maximus is going to be able to still play a role in hip extension, even with these femurs out like this into external rotation and abduction. So we're not taking the gluteus maximus out of the movement by simply going into external rotation. There's still a moment, or rather there's still an opportunity, I should say, for the glutes to work quite hard. So from this position, abs are going to be engaged. We want to start by posteriorly tilting our pelvis and squeezing our glutes, driving the hands into the ground. Where my feet are set up for the frog pump you just saw is kind of unique to my anatomy. Some individuals, like I said earlier, might need to move that around, but there's still some cues that are going to apply, as is the case anytime we do a thrust variation or a bridge variation. We want to first cue posterior pelvic tilt, which is essentially taking the pelvic bone and moving it this way so as to contract the glutes, right? Full hip extension and posterior pelvic tilt in a lot of ways are one and the same thing. So I don't want to start in this anteriorly pelvic tilted position when I thrust. And even though I'm flat on the ground in a frog pump, I still want to be mindful to contract into a posterior pelvic tilt. From there, I like to keep the ribs down and the core engaged, tucking my chin so as to protect my cervical spine. Some people will even slide something like a Bosu ball underneath the neck when they do a frog pump, just for some additional support and some external cueing. That is totally fine. From there, it's generally a movement done for high repetitions. I don't think it's something you should put a band on per se, and then you can always load it up by placing a dumbbell across the lap. Again, a fantastic opportunity to work the gluteus maximus, which still has an opportunity to produce force in that position, as well as the gluteus medius and minimus, which get a little bit of additional work in that abducted and externally rotated position. It's another tool for your glute building toolbox, and by no means is it better than any of the other movements, but it's something a lot of people like to do or have seen and maybe want to know how to do it better or properly. If you guys found this video helpful, make sure you like the video, comment below if you've tried frog pumps before. If you do, what do you like about them, what do you not like about them, and make sure you subscribe to Mind Pump TV. Have a good one.